Fellow Falcoholics, what is up? Welcome to our Falcons versus Rams. Hold on. There we go. That's the right frame. Sorry. It's always a scramble. Always a scramble after these games end to get to show up as fast as possible. So you guys get to look at my Skyrim background. I hope you enjoyed that. Yes, welcome to our Falcons versus Rams post-game special, which as you might imagine, is going to be pretty intense today. Falcons, of course, lost to the Rams. What was it, 37-10? I mean, it was bad. I know that. It looked like it was going to be, like a 20-point loss. Who cares? And then, of course, it ends up being a 27-point loss by the time the game is over. Just shoddy play all around. I thought that the defense was abominable. They actually somehow played decently to open the game, only for the offense to suck it up and just fall behind in a huge way because the offensive line, could not protect. I thought the play calling was pretty disappointing on the whole, and honestly, it's just so much to process that I don't really know where to start. Matt Ryan went out of the game. Devonta Freeman got ejected for fighting. It seems like the wheels have just completely come off of this team, and I don't think you guys need me to tell you. I don't think you guys need me to tell you that, it's time for Dan Quinn to get the hell off my football team, because this is, it's embarrassing at this point. The team is completely undisciplined. You have Devonta Freeman trying to punch Aaron Donald, which, I don't think I would recommend anyone try to punch Aaron Donald. I think that guy might be the most dangerous man alive in terms of his athletic ability. So, that would not be the first person I'd go after. The offensive line was an abomination. And, obviously part of that is the injuries suffered with Chris Lindstrom going out. That was a big part of the rebuild. Caleb McGarry, I think he's had some good games and he's had some bad games. This was definitely a bad game, unfortunately for him. But he's a rookie right tackle. I'm not really blaming Caleb McGarry necessarily for all of this. And the other thing is that your two free agent guards you brought in both paid them starting money. Neither one is playing up to those contracts. James Carpenter, I'm not sure if Carpenter got hurt again or if he got benched for Schweitzer or what was going on. But, that's not great. You've got your third string guard in at that point. Jamon Brown has not been able to get it done in pass protection. The run blocking hasn't been good either. The whole offensive line is a joke. And the play calling isn't doing them any favors. We talked about this before on this show. It's not doing them any favors. But whereas I thought the defense was kind of admirable in the first half, that they kept the Rams to only those 13 points, they completely fell apart in the second half, doing the same stuff that we've seen them do every game since week 2. 3-man rushes, dropping Vic Beasley into coverage on third down. The coverage is bad. Miscommunications everywhere. No pass rush, even against another offensive line that's struggling in a huge way in Los Angeles. I just really don't know what to say. Quinn has made no changes. His big change was playing, Jamal Carter, the undrafted safety, over Kamal Ishmael at times. Jamal Carter is an undrafted safety. He looked like it. No offense to Jamal Carter. He might have some potential, but you got Sherrod goddamn Neesman sitting there on the bench. This is a man that we've seen start. We've seen play at a reasonable level at worst. And Quinn's giving snaps to undrafted Jamal Carter before he's going to give Neesman a chance to play strong safety. It's what are we doing? Yeah. Okay, yeah, I believe Carpenter was officially hurt. There were so many tweets flying, I didn't see for sure if he was hurt or if that was a benching, but it seems like he was indeed hurt. Must have aggravated the injury from earlier in the week. It's going back to the defense. I don't know what we're doing here. Why are we refusing to play Sherrod Neesman? Why is he on your roster if you're not going to play him? We've gone out of our way to make sure that he doesn't play at this point. We traded a 6th round pick for Jonathan Cyprien before we played Sherrod Neesman, and then after Cyprien got hurt, we continued to play Ishmael, who I love him, go UCF, but he can't cover. He can't cover at all. That's just, he can't do it. We know this. We've seen this for years. And, Quinn finds out, oh yeah, he can't cover. So then he plays the undrafted safety Jamal Carter, who's honestly spent time at linebacker, very similar to Ishmael, over Niesman again. And I just don't know what to say about that. I think that is pretty much, the fighting, everything going on with this team, blown out again. I don't see how you can keep Dan Quinn as your coach at this point. I mean, I can't think of any reasonable take. Every week Quinn's more on the hot seat, and every week it gets worse. He doesn't have any answers for this team. He doesn't know what he's doing anymore. All of his instincts to fix the team are wrong. He's clearly playing favorites with his players, or he's holding grudges. Like, I'm guessing Sherrod Niesman is like, hey, coach, you should probably play me because I'm better than these jokers you got in there right now. And, maybe Quinn's taking offense to that. But, hey, let's be honest here. Like, I think Niesman probably would be right if he was saying that. So, it's just, the whole thing is an embarrassment. I mean, to have this much talent, squander it every week, look as bad as they do, I just don't know what else to say at this point. It's really, really bad, to say the least. Keep Quinn for the tank. Exactly. If that would be the only reasonable explanation, I believe, for keeping Dan Quinn. Like, we get to, keep going for the tank, because it looks like the Dolphins almost won today. I mean, we would have been in the running for the number 1 pick there. So, we're getting close. But yeah, I mean, I don't think Dimitrov gets a pass either. Like, it seems clear. Like, maybe Lindstrom would have been a huge upgrade. It seems like he maybe would have. It's unfortunate that he got hurt. But the 2 free agents that Quinn has now brought in to back up that position in Jamon Brown and James Carpenter, neither one has been good. So that's a black mark, obviously, with him. And the pass rush, I mean, who knows if the final decision laid with Quinn or Dimitrov on bringing back Vic Beasley. According to the contract language, it sounds like maybe Quinn has the final say technically, but I assume that they were in agreement on keeping Beasley. And in your clutch moments where you need that pass rush, you're dropping him into coverage. And to be fair, I thought Beasley had pretty good coverage on Gurley on that touchdown. I mean, let's give him credit. He had pretty good coverage there, but you shouldn't be playing your $13 million pass rusher in coverage in key situations, I mean, to say the least. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. So, like, what are we doing here? Why are we doing this? It's just a joke, man. No to Jay Gruden, John Dotson. No to Jay Gruden. No more retreads. Dirk Cutter should have shown this team that going out and signing coaches that have failed elsewhere to try to resurrect your team is just a mistake on all levels. And that's how I feel about going after someone like Jay Gruden. And Rocky Ramsey, you're right. Like, where is Tack? Like, where is his pressures? Just because Beasley sucks doesn't mean that Tack has to suck. But, Tack has not played well either. Grady Jarrett's the only one that's playing well on that defensive line. I guess Tyler Davison, he's putting in his work against the run. There are players in the defense that are still playing hard. I thought Ricardo Allen showed today that he's still playing hard. Deion Jones made several great plays against the run. He's still trying out there, but these guys can't do it alone. You have to get some help from the scheme, and they're getting no help at all. They're not. Dan Quinn's refusing to make any personnel adjustments. I mean, finally today he made an adjustment with Ishmael and brought in the undrafted safety to play. It's instead of the guy that started for like 6 games for you last season at strong safety and was solid. So, I just don't know what to say about that. And now your quarterback is hurt because of your offensive line issues. Now the season is officially over. I mean, you're not winning any games without Matt Ryan. I'll tell you that right now. And it's just really sad to see after only 7 weeks the team being nearly mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. I mean, I guess 10-6 if they win out, that's the best they could do. That they could get to 10-6 if they won all the rest of their games. I think we all know that's not happening. So one more loss there at 9-7, that's probably eliminating you from the wild card race mathematically, even if it's not official yet. But the season's over. Like, it's done. And it's really sad to say that after only 7 weeks, but that's where we're at. This is going to go down, I think, as one of the most embarrassing seasons in Falcons history, and you need to fire Dan Quinn right now for putting this product on the field. It's insulting to your fans to leave it any other way at this point. And like Dan, I think you're a great person. He's always been very nice to me when I've interviewed him and things like that. It's nothing personal, but you've lost the team. You've lost your edge. You can't coach this team anymore. I mean, it's apparent. You've lost it. Like there's nothing else you can do for this team, except maybe captain them to a top 3 pick, which I guess would be a nice thing. But it's done. It's done. Yeah, and a good thing to mention, Rostax, and do you see the NFC West? Like we got 2 teams in the NFC West that are both almost undefeated. The San Francisco being undefeated technically, I believe. I think that they managed to pull out a win today. I can't remember, but the Seahawks also playing well, obviously, and the Rams, at 4-3 there. So are there any teams? I mean, are there any teams worse than the Falcons right now in the NFC? I guess Washington is maybe the one hope left. I'm not even sure that they're worse at this point. Even them, running 40 times a game, because that if you run more, that means you're going to win. It's it's strange, and stop talking about drafting a quarterback and to replace Matt Ryan. Like, come on, guys, come on, get out of here with that nonsense. Now, if you want to talk about drafting a quarterback as a backup to compete with Kurt Benkert next season, that's reasonable, certainly. But there's really not a meaningful difference between quarterbacks taken on like day 2 and quarterbacks taken in the late rounds in terms of hit rate. So I think you just need to be smart with your evaluation and go after a late round guy or an undrafted guy that you really like, and stick with that. Like taking a guy in the 3rd round doesn't necessarily increase the chances of him being a quality backup for your team. It just doesn't. So it's yeah. I don't really know what else to say about the defense. I mean, I think you guys can see what's going on there. Dropping 8 into coverage and rushing 3. That's the exact opposite of what we should be doing, Dan Quinn. And you should know better as a defensive coach that this team can't cover, and you're facing these teams every week that have offensive line issues, and you can't get a sack because you refuse to pressure. You refuse to send more pressure. Playing max coverage isn't helping you at all on defense, and you continue to do it. Like, I don't understand what the thought process is. Like, what are we saying in meetings? Like, is Quinn literally going into meetings with a straight face and saying, like, all right, guys, like, I know playing max coverage each of the last 4 games during this losing streak has not helped, but I think if we just keep doing it, like if we go again this week, it's definitely going to work this time, especially against a team as talented as the Rams. I know our guys can get it done if we just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Is that what the meetings are like? I honestly am curious to see what's being said, because I don't know how you can justify this strategy anymore. I don't know how you could justify it this week. I don't know how you could justify it last week. I don't know how you could justify going away from the only game that you played good defense in week 2, which was your most aggressive week by far, where you sent extra pressure, where you played it up in the face of wide receivers, where you did everything right. You still almost lost, but you did everything right schematically. You had the right idea playing aggressive defense. The team looked fun. They looked like they were having a good time out there, and you abandoned it the next week, and you never go back to it again. I just don't get it. I don't get it on any level. Maybe you guys can help me out with that. Matt Ryan makes slow reads. Come on, man. You guys really in here to dump on Matt Ryan when he got hurt? Like, have a little bit of class, okay? Have a little bit of class. That's all I'm asking. Like, I don't know how you can honestly take a look at this team and think Matt Ryan is the problem in any way, shape, or form. I think that there's probably about 10, maybe not counting Julio, we could say there's probably 9 other guys on that offensive field that you could blame before you get to Matt Ryan for the issues. I think there's 5 guys in the offensive line, certainly. But, come on. Like, there's a multitude of issues we could get to before quarterback is the issue. I mean, look at all the stats. Matt Ryan, before this game, was like arguably the top quarterback in the NFL through the first 6 games. And you can talk about garbage time and catch-up football and whatever the hell you want, but, I mean, what do you want him to do? Just roll over and stop playing? It's not his fault that the defense is giving up 30 points a game. He's out there trying to keep this team in it, I don't know what you got what you want me to say about that, but it's embarrassing, honestly. If you honestly think that Matt Ryan's the problem, you don't know shit about football, and I'm just going to be straight up with you. That's just the cold hard truth. And you're entitled to your opinion. I'm just telling you that it's wrong, and you don't have to like me for it. But I'm telling you that it's wrong, and I need you to actually provide a cohesive thought, something cohesive, something that you could actually demonstrate to why you think Matt Ryan is the issue with this team. Not some, statement like, he's got a noodle arm, or you're like, he's not a winner, something real, because Matt Ryan's the best quarterback that this team has ever seen, may ever see in their entire history, and you're spending your time as a Falcons fan dumping on him. I just don't understand that viewpoint, but you're entitled to it, and you're wrong, but go for it, man. If that makes you feel better, do it. Go for it. But it doesn't make you a smart football fan. It doesn't make you right. It just makes you ignorant. So hey, do you? I appreciate you tuning in. Hey, you could be wrong and still tune into the show. That's fun. Just being straight up with you. All right. Sorry, had to go off on that because the Matt Ryan haters frustrate me. I just don't know how you could be gifted with the best quarterback your team has ever had and have a problem with him. But hey, fans of all, it doesn't make you any less of a fan. It just makes you wrong. That's all. So, Matt Ryan, is the best player this team's ever seen. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely up there overall. I mean, there's definitely some players from the old days that I think were really good too, and certainly Julio Jones in terms of raw talent has to be there as well. But yeah, and Soler, I do think you're right. I do think you're right about Dimitroff having to go. I think that it's apparent that the whole team just needs to start over. We need to start over with a new, fresh regime. And honestly, I don't think Dimitroff is the root cause of all these issues, but I think Dimitroff overall is an above-average GM. It's just that I think we've gotten as far as we can with him. I think if you're going to fire him, you need to make sure that you go out and get someone that's going to be an actual upgrade. But I think they can do that if they're smart and they have someone in mind. I don't think they should fire Dimitroff and make a lateral move like they did, like a downgrade like they did firing Sark to go to a retread failed person in Dirk Cutter. That was a big mistake, so if that would just be a waste of time. So if you're going to do that, you might as well just keep Dimitroff. But Dimitroff's Achilles heel has been finding offensive line. It's taken him a long time to get the guys that he's got, and only a handful of them have been good. I think, to be fair, we could find out that Chris Lindstrom and Caleb McGarry are both very good picks, and that I will be appreciative of that, certainly. But the one Achilles heel of Dimitroff has been finding pass rushers, and he has failed miserably at every opportunity, and this team needs one more than anything at this point. You have to get some sort of pass rush. And look, obviously Dan Quinn has done absolutely nothing to help them schematically, but eventually somebody has to get home, somebody has to do something. You can't just have Grady Jarrett out there carrying the load every single week. It's not going to work for you, as we've seen. And, maybe this team will end up with that, top 3 pick and have a chance to get Chase Young, which is, I think, a franchise-altering type of pick. And hopefully Dimitroff would be smart enough to make that pick if he was still here. But I think we need to go after some fresh young blood here. I'm personally of the mind that going after Lincoln Riley is a great idea. I know I've talked about this before on the show, but I think going in that direction is the way this team needs to go. The modern take. Let Lincoln Riley bring in his own GM if he wants. Let him bring in his own defensive coordinator. Let's see what some young blood in here can do with this team, which is basically ready-made to compete if it was just competently helmed. And hasn't been competently helmed in a while, it seems, but this year most of all, and it's very sad. Torture for Tom. No Mike Tomlin either. Okay, we're not doing. Ryan Sublieri, I do want to answer your question here. Give me 1 sec to take a sip here because my throat's starting to get a little dry. But I see your question. All right, yes. So Ryan asks a good question, like if we do get that top 2 pick and all those great quarterbacks are sitting there, would I consider taking one? And Ryan, I would say no, because there's no financial way to get out of Matt Ryan's contract. Even if the new coach was very dumb and decided that he wanted to try to move on from Ryan, there's no feasible way to get out of that deal, even if they wanted to. I don't think they should, but, in that situation, let's say that they, say the team with the number 1 pick takes Chase Young or whatever. So the Falcons aren't in play for Chase Young. I think if you're at number 2 and Chase Young is there, you take him. No questions asked, because I think that's a franchise-altering type of player. I don't care if you get offered 2 first-round picks for a quarterback. I think that you go with Chase Young and you make that pick and seal the biggest need on your entire team at this point with a transcendent talent potentially in Chase Young. But say Chase Young's not there. Say something happens where Chase Young's stock falls or, the number 1 pick is Chase Young or whatever. At that point, I think you try to trade that pick because we know there's a lot of teams that are interested in that top crop of quarterbacks with, Tua and Justin Herbert and, the guy from LSU, Burrow. I don't know his name yet. I haven't started really doing my draft evaluations at this point, but, that's what I would do is try to trade that pick. Trade down a few spots if possible. Take another impact pass rusher. If you do miss out on Chase Young, there are other guys that are quality. AJ Epinesa is another top 10 type of talent there. So you could maybe trade down to like pick 5, take Epinesa and maybe get a haul for someone that's in desperate need of that quarterback. That would be where I would go personally with that. I don't think it's worth spending a first-round pick on quarterback yourself when you have a franchise guy for the next 5 years or whatever under contract. I don't think I can see that working out for them. An under-the-radar coaching hire, Kylo the Poodle. I don't want to... Don't spam. That's not really cool, but I will answer your question. But, please stop spamming if you don't mind. I think, people have said, Gary Kubiak is not healthy and he wouldn't consider coaching again. But I think the team was intensely going after Kubiak last offseason, and I think the Broncos basically made it clear they weren't going to let him leave. So the Falcons moved on. Then the Broncos said he could get out, and he went somewhere else. If Kubiak is healthy again, or feeling somewhat healthier, and he's willing to coach, I think that the Falcons may make a run for him. I think they like his pairing of experience, and also he has the type of scheme that they really want to run with this personnel. He's a proven winner as well, so I think that's kind of an under the radar guy if he's willing to get back into head coaching. Let's see. If you guys have other questions, definitely get those out there. I will try to answer some if I can. Scroll up here. What would the T-shirts say this week? I mean, I think the Falcons are going to print their own T-shirts and say, and they'll say, fire the coach, please. Like, this is our desperate cry for help. That would be what my shirt would say. Paco Matthias with Kaminsky, was he supposed to be something? Honestly, Kaminsky was always going to be raw. He was coming out of a Division II school. He has tremendous athletic talent, but he was always going to take time to develop. I said that before the season. I maintain that. I think he's talented enough. We could put him on the field now, and he'll probably produce to a limited extent, just because his talent will win out. But I don't think expecting him to be a major factor this year was ever realistic. And that's my take on that. Vlad Tepes asks, do I think Neal gets re-signed? I think that they will try to. It's probably going to depend a lot on next year. If he's healthy next season, they're going to let that fifth-year option play out, certainly, with his injuries now. If he's healthy next year and is his old self again, then yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't pay him. The injury might decrease his price, as brutal as that is. This is a business, and the injury history may very well decrease his price, which would help the Falcons' cap situation, I guess. But I don't think they're necessarily looking to move on from him. I think it would be really smart to draft another strong safety, because clearly no one's interested in playing Sherrod Niesman, who's been a solid starter for us. So if we're not going to go that route, then an early day 3 strong safety, someone that may have some starting potential, would be something I would definitely go after in this draft. That would be my personal opinion. Kylo, this is your last chance, man. If you don't stop spamming, I will kick you from the channel. So I have that power. I have the banhammer. Everyone's very well behaved here. I haven't had to swing the banhammer in like several weeks, so thank you guys. But I'm not afraid to do that. So just Dave Choate for head coach. At least Dave Choate would come out and tell us the Falcons suck every week. When they do, he would be very honest. Swing for the fences for head coach. Get Tony Dungy or Bill Cowher out of retirement. That's very admirable of you, Robert Kelly, to go that route. I don't think that's really going to work out for us, but that's very admirable. Let's see. Little Rebel asked about a day 2 running back. Yeah, sure. I would like to see the guys that we've drafted and see what we have in them. With Ollison and Hill. Hill. The offensive line has been so bad; it's been hard to evaluate anyone. But I'd like to see if we have something, in Ito and Hill and Ollison. Maybe between those 3 guys, we don't necessarily need to spend a high pick. But if it's not looking promising, then yeah, there's a ton of running back talent this year. You could get a really good player on day 2 to be your new starting running back. I would not be opposed to that if the draft slot is right. Say like Travis, Etienne from Clemson is sitting there in like the 2nd or 3rd round, and it's just a good value. I think there's definitely an opportunity for that if the situation calls for it. Please ban Dan Quinn and Dirk Cutter. If only I could, Yo-Yo. If only I could. I don't have that kind of power. Vlad asked about our top needs. So Vlad ranks them defensive end, cornerback, and offensive line. That's pretty close. I guess it depends on what you're doing with KZ. Because if you're moving KZ back to free safety, then absolutely cornerback is that number 2 need. If you're keeping KZ at corner, it's probably more of like the 3rd need, but it just depends. I would say edge is definitely top, like no questions asked. I would say like offensive line, like getting a center guard guy or at least a guard to bring in for left guard. That's probably your number 2 need. That's probably where your 2nd round pick is heading. And I think getting a center guard type of player, someone that has experience at center, but can play guard for us at least next year, would be the smart decision. And then you could move him to center after Alex Mack, retires in the next 2 to 3 seasons. So that would be my probably either 2nd or 3rd need there, and then either cornerback or safety as the 3rd one. It just depends on how things go, how they move around personnel, the defense we're playing, and all that. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So you're pretty close there, Vlad, for sure. All right. Defensive tackle. Yeah, Little Rebel, honestly, I think the defensive tackle position has been like the only consistently good one on the whole roster. Tyler Davison has been great. I've really enjoyed his addition. He plays hard. He's a run defender, but he's been very solid there. Grady Jarrett's obviously good. Jack Crawford's a free agent next year. He's been kind of disappointing. They haven't played him a lot, but he's been kind of disappointing, so you let him walk. We've got Adrian Sanat sitting there that they refuse to play. Who knows what we have in him. I do think adding another defensive tackle to the mix is smart. Alan Bailey could be a cap casualty. I think he's been, reasonable, especially in run defense. But yeah, I think, early day 3 defensive tackle could be in the mix, certainly. I wouldn't be against adding an impact defensive tackle on day 2 either, to be honest. Like if they go Chase Young and then add another day 2 defensive tackle to that defensive line and just go all on to fix the defensive line. Yeah, sure. I'm into that. Yeah, linebackers up there too, Samuel Rowan. You're absolutely right. I do think linebacker is a need. I think if we could just see Foyesade Oluokun actually play a lot of snaps, I think we'd all feel a lot better about linebacker. Campbell's gone. No questions asked. Like he's a free agent. He's not being re-signed. I think Oluokun can be a solid starter. At the same time, if the value is good at linebacker on day 2, I guess you could see adding one. But I think really the money spot for linebacker is usually that early day 3 range. There's talent there. The Falcons are looking for kind of a specific prototype on defense. That could all change with a new defensive coordinator. I kind of doubt it, assuming they go after an offensive guy. They're probably going to want to keep the scheme as it's supposed to be played, in terms of smaller linebackers, 4-3, rushing 4 type of play on defense. That's probably going to want to stay the same. Ideally, they're actually going to play the scheme like it's supposed to be played and not play this cowardly, rush 3, drop 8 bastardization of it that we're seeing now under Dan Quinn when he's terrified for his job. But the new coach will have something to do with where they go, certainly. Jermaine Grace as well. Yeah, definitely. You guys mentioned him. Let's see. Yeah, wide receiver. I mean, you guys mentioned wide receiver. Sanu's probably going to be a cap casualty, unfortunately. So adding another wide receiver to the mix is big. I do love Grant Delpit from LSU, Josh Chapman. I just feel like you're going to have to draft him in the top 10, and I just don't think that we can afford that. I think KZ's a lot better at free safety too. So moving him back to free safety, say we the offseason we move KZ back to free safety where we know that he's a very good player. Bring in Chase Young. Just hope for the best with Tack. We got 2 more years of Tack under control. 1 more cheap year and then a 5th year option that will be pretty pricey, but we'll get to see him next year, hopefully with Chase Young playing opposite him. And we'll have a better idea, I think, of where Tack stands. But I think if you can find the money, you bring in a free agent pass rusher too, just to add to the mix. But they're just not going to have very much of it. It's tough though. I love Grant Delpit, but I don't really see any way to make that work unless he falls out of the first round or something. I'm not a fan of drafting a corner in the top 5. Jeffrey Okuda is really good. I like him. I just don't think you just draft a corner in the top 5 with this team. I just don't think that's realistic. I don't think that's really solving the issues. I think if this team had a pass rush, the secondary would look better. I think it's too early to give up on Oliver. I mean, I don't think we should go into the season with Oliver as the unquestioned starter or anything like that. But keep in mind the Falcons. Whoa, my dice just went flying. Keep in mind, the Falcons just drafted 2 corners in Sheffield and Miller. We've seen almost nothing of Miller other than the preseason. But he could potentially be an outside guy with his size and length. Sheffield, I think, has acquitted himself quite well despite being very raw coming out of college. So I like the potential of Sheffield as the long-term nickel guy, honestly. I think he's a better fit there than on the outside. But he's been fine on the outside too. So whatever works. I'm not picky. Trufant is going to be on this team for at least 2 more years with his contract. I think Trufant's fine. He's maybe not living up to that contract as much as we'd like, but he's fine overall. And we'll have to see what happens with Ricardo Allen. He could very easily be a cap casualty, but probably not since they restructured his deal. He's not really much of a savings anymore. So it's tough. It's tough what you do there, but I just don't think we can justify taking a top 5 corner, personally. Team might give up a UDFA pick for Vic. Maybe if we're lucky, right? If we're lucky. Yeah, but definitely Chase Young. And no, we shouldn't have traded for Jalen Ramsey. I don't think Jalen Ramsey would have saved this team because I'm very much like team pass rush is more important than coverage. I think they're both very interconnected, and if you have no pass rush, your secondary is going to look awful. If you have no coverage, your pass rush is going to look awful. You have to have both pieces to have a great defense, but if one is terrible and the other one sucks, it's going to be bad either way. So it's just ridiculous. But hopefully, see, I could put you in timeout too. I didn't realize that, guys. I could put you in timeout for like 5 minutes. So hey, behave, or I'll put you in timeout. Sometimes even adults need to be put in timeout. Yeah. I just don't really know what else to say. I mean, we basically covered it. It's rough. It's a rough season. It's going to be rough the rest of the way. I'll be here to keep talking to you guys. We'll continue to vent together, and we'll talk about the future. And I think the future still can hold some positive things for this team. Not in 2019, mind you. I don't think there's really any hope for this season in terms of winning games or competing, but getting that top 5 pick, getting a player like Chase Young, getting a whole new coaching staff, which could potentially revolutionize this team and take it into the future. those are all things that can be hopeful. We just have to hope that Blake makes the right decisions with this process. We need to get Quinn out of here as soon as possible because it's clear that he's lost the team, and keeping that around is just it's an insult to the fans and to the players. Like, they deserve better. We all do. Dimitrov probably needs to go as well. I don't think you can have two failed head coaching hires and stick around as general manager. I just don't think there's precedent for that. We'll see. I just think we need new blood all around, and the roster is not as bad as 1-6. It's honestly an embarrassment that it's this bad. Look at that 2013 roster that went 4-12 and tell me that roster was better than this roster. It's not. That offensive line was an abomination. They had like one good player on that whole offensive line. The receivers weren't good. Nothing was going right for that team, and they've still been better than this team. And some people were talking about even 2007 being better. It's crazy. But yes, to those saying it, in case it's not clear, yes, Chase Young, first pick, no questions asked. Let's do it. Lock it in. Lock it in right now. But yeah, Solaire, you're right. Like, we have the pieces for, I think, like an average defense. Like, I don't think this is going to be this is a great defense, even if someone competent's coordinating it. But we've been perpetually like one draft away from having a good defense for so long, and it just seems like anytime that happens, the wrong decisions get made. The pass rush gets overlooked, and we're no better than we were the previous year, despite more pieces being added. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Hold on. All right. Hold on one second, folks. I know some people in the chat have said Dan Quinn's been fired. I have not heard anything. So I don't think that's official yet. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he does get fired, like, very soon. But, yeah. Man, G-Money, I wish we were on the payroll. Jesus, that would be nice. Those guys probably make the big bucks. No, we don't get paid to have these opinions. These are our own opinions. Matt Ryan is too damn old. J-Cat Boogie, do you know how freaking old Tom Brady is? Okay, like, you can play till you're an old man now and still play at a high level. So, all right. Yeah, no, there's no firings yet. If it comes, it'll come tomorrow. It's usually those types of things come on Mondays. All right, folks. That's about all I can stomach for today. Let's see. No trolls, please. Please. All right. Yeah. I mean, what is your? I mean, I don't really have anything else to say. Like, if you think Matt Ryan's the problem with this team, then I don't have anything else to say to you. I've said everything that there is to say. You could be ignorant if you want. That's totally on you. But my advice to you would be to appreciate greatness when it's in front of you and not nitpick the shit out of it, and try to blame the one consistent player on this offense other than Julio Jones for our problems. That would be my advice to you. But do what you want. No, I don't mind it, Mithrandir. I don't mind hanging out with you guys. Like, 95% of you guys are great. 95% of you guys are great. So, I do appreciate all you guys for tuning in. If you don't mind throwing a like and a subscribe, we do appreciate that as well. Likes help the actual individual video, I guess, get more run on like the homepage of YouTube and stuff for people that like Falcons content. And subscribes obviously help you because you can get notified when we go live, and we can apparently write little posts now because we were over 1,000 subscribers, so that's kind of cool. So that stuff is cool. We appreciate you guys tuning in. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about this game. We'll be back, of course, on Wednesday. Mithrender, yeah, dude, I love Lord of the Rings. Okay, like I know how to pronounce this stuff. All right, this is not a joke. All right, this is very serious, Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it's talk about the fight. Oh man, yeah. I mean, you have to admire Devonta Freeman for like having the gall to like try to fight Aaron Donald, who's probably the most terrifying man on the football field. But other than that, I don't really have any opinions on the fight. I didn't have, I'm not like a super fighter. I don't know that much about the techniques used and that sort of thing. But all right, folks. Like I said, if you don't mind throwing us a like, if you're not already subscribed, definitely do so. We will be back on Wednesday for our more analysis-based show, less like takes-based show. Hopefully we'll be talking about Quinn's firing as much as it sucks to actually like say that, because look, this man's got a family, he's doing what he loves, I assume, and it's not working out, and that sucks, but it's time for a change. I think we can all see that, and I think that it's time that the change be made. So, I'm expecting that if that's not this week, it'll be next week. So, we'll talk about all that stuff on Wednesday. We'll start talking about more draft stuff. I know you guys are chomping at the bit for that bite, for the draft content. You guys are asking a ton of draft related questions, and there's not much else to talk about when you're 1-6 heading into the 8th week of the season. So, at any rate, guys, I guess I'm out of takes. We are tanking. Watch Watchmen tonight. That looks like a good show, right? So that could be fun, I don't really have anything else to say. We'll just hope for the best going forward. We'll hope for a high draft pick, and we'll get some draft takes going this week. Adnan is back. Adnan's only not on the show today because Adnan was covering the game in person, so that's awesome for him. I think this was his first time covering at the new stadium, so that's really cool for him. I'm sure he's going to have some great content for us from the game itself. But until Wednesday, guys, I'm Kevin Knight. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcoholic Kevin. And like I said, Wednesday night at 8:10 p.m. is our weekly show. We'll be back then. And then, of course, after the Seahawks game, which they have to win another game at some point, right? I mean, it's probably not going to be that one, but at some point maybe they'll win again. But until then, you guys know you got me here. I got all you guys, and then we'll go from there. But try to enjoy the rest of your Sunday, even if it doesn't involve football. And we will be back to continue talking you through this unfortunately lost season on Wednesday. Until then, guys, like I said, I'm Kevin Knight. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you on Wednesday night. Adios.